Mm-hmm.
Road is really popped out. Oh, there's turkey. Okay.
All messed up. Weird apart. Yeah, so we don't have that much to take. I'll take care of all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is Barry Idarola or Damon Tinio on the call? We're just waiting on a quorum before the meeting starts.
At this time, we're going to proceed with the public hearing on the preliminary application for MS Court at 29 Hartford.
Good evening, I'm John Nana with 385 Realty Corp.
I'm coming to your house.
Bill,
We're in long before his.
Bill. Public hearing notice.
Yes. I'm going to read that this time. I'll read the public hearing notice into order. It says, in accordance with MGL Chapter 41, Section 81S, notice hereby given that a public hearing will be held on May 24th by teleconference or in person at the Mendon Town Hall.
Yes, I'm not going to submit.
Preliminary plan for a subdivision called MS Court at 27 and 29 Hartford Avenue West. It's being submitted by John Nanat of Route 85 Realty Corp. This was posted in the Milford Daily News on 5/7 and 5/14.
Good evening, I'm John Nana, I'm with Route 85 Realty Corp. If anybody would like a set of small plans, if they're here for this. No, I have some more right there. This is a property at 29 Hartford Ave West. It was a blighted property that 385 purchased at an auction, a foreclosure auction over a year ago. The property had quite a bit of junk on it, cars, trucks. The house was pretty dated. It was kind of common knowledge that there was a drug problem in the house, there was a pest problem in the house. About 40 or 45 up the property, the house itself. We've since renovated the property. We split off what we're calling Lot 1, which is the existing two-family house, and the two bonds as an A&R lot, which means it has the proper frontage and area on Hartford Ave. That has already taken place. It's already recorded. The house is for sale. It's currently under P&S agreement. With the remaining land, it's approximately 33 acres. We're in front of the board tonight with an open space subdivision. What an open space subdivision is you take a piece of property, you subdivide it conventionally, show that you can get a road and how many lots you can get in. In this case, it's a maximum of 8 lots because it's on a cul-de-sac. This first plan shows a conventional subdivision. It shows Lot 1 being cut out as an A&R plan. And then it shows the remainder lots all meeting the required frontage and area for a conventional subdivision. The road comes in, swings to the east, and then heads back north. And we show that we can get a total of 7 new lots on the subdivision road and 1 lot, which is an A&R lot on Hartford Ave. So we get a total of 8 conventional lots. Once we show that we can get 8 conventional lots with the proper frontage in areas, all the upland areas meet regardless of the wetlands, then we can move forward and we can ask the board to approve an open space subdivision. So up to this point, we came in front of the board with a pre-submittal plan. So we were already in front of the board with the open space subdivision plan pre-submittal to see if they had any comments about it. The board had a few comments, we adjusted the plans, and then we came in at the last meeting with our submittal package. We presented the submittal package to the board at that time, and they set the public hearing for tonight. I'm going to go through all the plans with you. These are preliminary plans. We show drainage in a general sense. Nothing's final. Last meeting, the day after the meeting, I submitted a package to Jeffrey Walsh of Graves Engineering. He's the town consulting engineer. After 2 weeks, he got a letter back to the board with some comments about the design. And we have addressed those comments. We've sent him a new set of plans. I have his letter. I'm going to go through those comments tonight also. So I just wanted to go through. So this was the subdivision to the conventional plan. If anybody has any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer them. Sure.
Good question. I'm sure you're gonna answer.
Yeah.
The entrance going in here,
Yes.
is that the current entrance to get to those 2 new houses?
Yeah, so the rehabbed house, yeah, it's going to be the same entrance. There'll be a wetland crossing there with walls. There'll be a right-of-way of a road there. The road, walk and everything. That's just a driveway now to get to the houses. When we did cut out the existing house to get to it, and they will be part of a homeowners association. When it's done, this road will not be in town. It's going to be a private road. They'll have the 8 lot association for upkeep of the road, plowing, etc. When we do submit the definitive, we have the homeowners association all ironed out. It'll be submitted with the definitive package. Also, some of these lots are duplex lots. Some of them will be single family. The houses that are going to be duplex lots will have a condo association set up for each individual lot. If there is 2 units on 1 lot, each unit will pay a share of the homeowners association. So it's fair to anyone that builds a single family up there. Any other?
Doing a lot right now, and you're making it where people will buy a lot and build whatever they want on it, or is it going to be houses?
Oh, it's going to be houses. It's either going to be a single family or a duplex lot. So there'll be a regular road up there, but it'll be private. It won't get turned over. It'll be a private road.
Would they have access to that road? Any abutters on the,
No, it's a cul-de-sac. So the idea of so the road on the conventional subdivision would have been almost 2,000 feet long. By making it an open space subdivision, a shorter cul-de-sac, using less area and less frontage, we're able to cut that length in half to 1,000 feet.
But you're landlocking us.
Where are you?
John,
Yes.
hold on one second. Guys, I've got to let the applicant finish going over his detail. At that time, the board will ask questions, and I'll open it to the community. We can't crosstalk because the meeting will take forever. Go ahead, John.
Okay, so anyway, that's the conventional design subdivision. I'm going to move on just to this colored picture of the open space subdivision, and then I'll get into a little more detail. So the open space subdivision has 7 lots that are the area shown in the green are where the houses would sit. As you can see, the first lot on the right as the road comes in would be a conventional lot. It's not part of the subdivision, but it will be part of the homeowners association because they will be using the road to access their lot. The entrance of the road is going to have the initial wetlands crossing. The road is staying right where it is. There's an open space parcel A to the left of the road and a large open space parcel B to the right of it. The total parcel is 35.89 acres. The open space is 22.23 acres, and 13.66 acres will be used for the lots. Lets us give the Town Conservation Commission or Metacomet Land Trust, whatever it ends up being, 22 acres, plus there's another 10 acres on the other side of the high tension lines that came with this property that we're going to include as part of the gift to the town. Well, not the gift, but part of the open space to the town. So it'll be a total of about 32 acres of open space going to the town. So by using an open space design as part of the regs in town, the idea is to reduce the pervious area, reduce the pavement. Part of the bylaw is that you use soft drainage or country drainage. It's a low impact drainage design where you don't use catch basins. You don't take the flows and you spread out the flows over the subdivision. Discharge. So what we've done here is we've incorporated water quality swales on the edges of the pavement, so there won't be any curbing. The water will flow into the water quality swales, run down the hills into either bioretention areas, which is almost like a little wetland area that you build to help clean the water, or it would run into an open basin or retention pond. What this does, it cuts down on the impact to the land. We're also reducing the pavement to 24 feet. That was agreed on with the fire chief. In Mendon, the pavement width is normally 30 feet. So by doing an open space subdivision, you're allowed to make that smaller. Once again, it's better for the environment, less impact on the environment, and less pervious area. This is all designed using best management practices. This is just a general idea, the way this will work. There's a high point right in front of lots 2 and 4. The water will flow back towards Hartford Ave into 2 bioretention areas close to the wetlands, and the remaining of the drainage will flow in swales down towards the cul-de-sac with a bioretention area on each side of the cul-de-sac in the areas of Lot 6 and Lot 7 and Lot 8, right in that area. Property values in and around, this is just a general knowledge, property values in and around open space subdivisions usually increase because it provides an area of open space, walking trails sometimes for the houses around it. We're hoping that's the case with this subdivision. Lot size, so the clearing on the lots by doing an open space subdivision are reduced. So instead of having a full 90,000 square foot lot where they may clear the whole 90,000, the board has more control and would limit the amount of clearing around each lot, just enough clearing for the septic system, the house, garages, driveways. There's a little bit more control for the board to control that. In a conventional design, you can go in, you can pretty much clear cut your lot and the board doesn't have much say in it. In an open space subdivision, the board has a little bit more control to control what's cleared around the house. So when we present our definitive plan, there will be a line of clearing, and that's what will be allowed to be cleared on each lot. You won't be able to go and clear cut the lots. What is a little bit different about an open space subdivision, because there's no curbing on the road, the swales are directly off the side of the road. So we provided an easement outside of the right of way for the sidewalk. So the sidewalk would be outside of the right of way in a permanent sidewalk easement. So you would have your pavement, you would have your area of drainage swale, and then you would have your sidewalks behind that. They can meander, they can go straight, whatever we decide with the board. But it gives a nice, so a water quality swale is a grass swale. It has shallow sides, it goes down, and every 30 feet, It'll have another grass berm above it, so the water can kind of puddle out, go over the berm to the next puddle, go over the berm to the next puddle. That helps remove total suspended solids in the water. It helps clean it before it gets to any bioretention area or gets to any bioretention area or open detention basin or retention basin. So all of the lots, so another benefit of doing an open space subdivision is a reduction of the board allows you to do a reduction of the frontage. And the reason they do that is to reduce the length of the road. If every lot had to be 300 feet wide and you do 5 lots in a row, all of a sudden you're at 1,500 feet. The open space subdivision lets the board reduce that frontage to sizes that are acceptable to them. In this case, lot 2, some of these have large frontages, and it's just because some of the areas have wetlands on the side and we have to get up to the upland to get to it. Lot 2 has 359 feet of frontage. Lot 3 has 197. Lot 4, 251. Lot 5, 177. Lot 6, 203. Lot 7, 203. And Lot 8, 229. These would have all normally had been 300 feet. It's the same thing with the area. Instead of having to be 90,000, this lets us reduce the area of the lot, and it helps us reduce the upland area of the lot. Before, during the pre-submittal preliminary plan, I spoke with the board, and because we have an opportunity to do duplexes on the lots, he didn't want me to go too small, and just because of the wetlands on the lots and the shape of the road coming in, we kind of meandered the road with an existing cart path that was there. There was a cart path that crossed Hartford Ave. Everybody knows where the driveway is. Went up over the hill, came around, and then went all the way out into the back, all the way back where I showed that conventional. There's a cart path that comes all the way back up to an upland area up here. So this lets us reduce the lots, in this case, to 65,000 with 62,000 square feet of upland, 93,000 with 74,000 of upland, 63,000 with 54,000 of upland, 47 with 47,000 of upland, 63 with 36,000 of upland, 80 with 75, and 110 with 99. All the lots are good size. They all have plenty of upland for the septic system, the wells, etc. Let me just come over here to the profile of the road. Oh, you know what? While I have this up here, I would like to. So we submitted this, and one of the comments, Ian Mazar had contacted me, and also Jeff Walsh, one of his comments was that we had to include a parking area. So at the end of the cul-de-sac, there's a 25-foot strip of open space that comes back to additional open space and up to a big upland in the back. That will all be open space. We have to leave 3 parking spots. We've updated our preliminary plans to show 3 parking spots right where that entrance to that 25-foot wide open space and the open space parcel B. If you guys want to take a look, this is the actual lot configuration at 80 scale of the whole subdivision. You can see the road with the lots, and this is open space A, and this is open space parcel B. So another benefit of open space subdivisions is it gives the board some leeway to grant waivers on some items regarding the design of the streets. It lets them waive some of the slopes. It lets them waive mostly like slopes of the road, the curves in the road, how long the curves are. So in this case, so what it does, it lets you design the road to more of the contours that are existing on the site. So you're not doing big cuts and big fills. You're not blasting 15-foot cuts in order to reduce your crest over a hill. You might only have to do 2 or 4 feet to get a crest. So We've designed the profile. We originally designed it with a crest with a K value. The K value is kind of the steepness of the curve, how fast the curve goes up and then comes back down. One of Jeff Walsh's comments was that he would like to see that over a K value of 19. When we submitted it was a 7.5. We have made that change. We're now at 19.47. It stretches that curve out. If anybody can see this plan, the blue line represents the profile of the road. The pink areas represent fills and the green area represent cuts. You can see they're fairly balanced. There's not huge fills and there's huge cuts. Probably the biggest fill in the subdivision, of course, is the wetland crossing at the entrance of the driveway. We came off Hartford Ave at a 2% slope, and we'll do that wetland crossing. That's going to give us about a 6 to 8 foot fill over what's existing there. So we'll have to do walls on both sides of that. Additional comment that Jeff Walsh had was he would like to see the walls outside of the right-of-way, which means he would like that whole right-of-way there 50 feet wide. We're asking the board not to make us do that because we know that conservation is going to want that as tight as possible, so you fill as little wetlands as possible. We have come back. We're going to show a 2-foot grass strip and then the sidewalk, and then another grass strip in the wall, and on the other side, a 2 or 4-foot grass strip, then the wall. That will still keep the walls inside of the right-of-way. It'll widen it more than our initial submittal, but it'll make it doable that we're not doing a whole 50-foot swath across the wetland. That's the idea of an open space. You're trying to fill and disturb as little wetlands as possible. We feel it's adequate. The fire department felt, I believe it was adequate. He saw the plans. He had no comment about that. I think Jeff's comment about getting him out of the right-of-way is because he didn't want the town to be responsible for the upkeep of the walls. But in this case, the road's not getting turned over to the town. It's a private road, and any maintenance to the walls will fall in the homeowners association agreement and will be the responsibility of the homeowners in the property, not the town. So this is the beginning of the road. This is the first crossing where we're in at 2% and then up and over the hill, back down, and into the cul-de-sac. Another comment Jeff Walsh made was that the sags, so that this is where the road comes down and up. He felt some of those were too short, but he is the one that said, but if you want to put some extra lighting where the sags are, I'm fine with it. So the definitive plan does have lighting at all the sags and the curves going into it and coming out of it. And the reason for that, if you think when you're coming in with a car into a vertical curve like this, the lights will start hitting the ground and you won't be able to see very far. You know, a lot of people flick on their high beams right at that low point. By putting street lights, that illuminates the area that you can't see because your lights are hitting the ground. So that's a pretty common practice, just to add lights, and it was Jeff's idea, and
Yep.
we are incorporating that into the subdivision. So that's the basic gist. This is a preliminary plan. We are working on the definitive. I hope to submit it after this meeting, after this presentation tonight. The drainage gets a little tricky doing the water quality swales and the bioretention areas. It's going to take us about another week and a half to finish up the definitive plan, so I won't be submitting them tonight. I just was going to go through quickly Jeff Walsh's comments. I don't know if you want to do that, Bill, or if you want.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can I interrupt very briefly? I just wanted to call the Mendon Economic Development Committee meeting to order, since we were scheduled to attend this meeting at 7:30. Thank you.
What?
This is Tom Morale, by the way.
Duly noted.
So if you would like, I could read it, Bill, or would you like to? I don't care.
No, go ahead. I mean, there's just a few general comments by,
Yes.
for those of you who don't know, Jeff Walsh is the town's consultant. They reviewed the plans for the town of Mendon, make sure they meet the regulations and zoning bylaws of the town. So he goes over the entire plan. And whenever they're outside of those bylaws or regulations, Jeff will note it for them to address, so, go ahead.
So his first issue was, Graves Engineering has no issue with the lot dimensions under both the conventional and open space scenarios. That just means that the lots meet all the town regulations in the conventional and the open space plans. Number two, if the project is developed as an open space community, then DEI defers to the planning board whether parking must be provided at the access point to the open space. We have added parking. It has to be 3 cars. Amazar called me after the very first meeting and said, we need parking for 3 cars at the beginning of the open space. We added them right away. We have provided an area that's 30 feet wide and about 30 feet deep right at the entrance. And it's not an easement. It is part of open space B. So it'll be part of the open space. It's not a parking easement. It's actually part of the open space that will get turned over to whichever entity we turn it over to. It can go either to a land trust like Metacomet Land Trust. It can go to the Town Conservation Commission, or it could go to the Homeowners Association. Graves Engineering defers to the planning board whether monumentation needs to be provided for the open space parcel. I've already hired a surveyor. They're already staking the open space parcels. They're staking all the corners with iron pins and caps, and we will be placing signs about the open space at the back of each lot that abuts the open space. GEI reviewed the waivers requested on sheet C100. One of those waivers was the K value of the road. Another one is 10% grade instead of 8%. The only one that he had problems with was the K value on the crest of the road. We've addressed that. We're at 19.47. He wanted a minimum of 19. And we have addressed the K value in the SAGs by providing street lighting on the definitive plans. Number 5, he was asking for site distances. We did send a survey crew out there. They have the site distances. They all meet the town regulations and the state regulations. They will be shown as site triangles on the definitive plans once we submit them. I discussed his last comment was the walls outside of the right of way. We know that even if we put them outside of the right of way and we go to conservation, they're going to make them. So we're trying to keep them as tight as possible. And that's the whole idea of a open space subdivision to disturb as the least amount of wets as possible. And then general engineering comments, GEI had no issues, and that was his comment letter. So we've addressed all the issues I feel on his comment letter. And if anybody has any questions, the board or anybody, I'm happy to answer them.
I know. I'm sorry, James Gordon. I asked you on the first meeting, and maybe my eyes aren't as good as they used to be, but I'm not seeing a cistern on your plan.
Yes, I met with the fire chief. We have agreed on a 20,000 gallon cistern. It'll be right between lots 4 and 6. It is shown on the definitive plan with details. This is just the preliminary. That's not an item that's really required on. It's not shown on this, but it is shown on the definitive plans.
No.
We already picked out the style. He told me 20,000 gallons.
Yep. So he didn't want it at the end on high?
No, because it's too long of a.
Okay.
It's too long. You wanted it right in the middle.
All right.
Yeah, he wants them all in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. So we picked a spot right before he went on vacation, and we picked out the style cistern, 20,000 gallons. It's a concrete, comes in sections.
Yep.
And they put it together. And but what we did talk about too, we would also supply a $5,000, I guess, check for that for maintenance on it if the fire department has to do any maintenance in the future. What he said is they were requiring 30,000 gallon cisterns, and then they had no money to upkeep the cisterns, paint the standpipes, whatever. So what they decided to do was reduce that to 20,000 gallon cistern and get a $5,000 check from the developer to be put in a fund for upkeep of the cistern.
Well, my question was on the. I understand on the cistern, but having it in deeper into the subdivision, I know that he was at one time spoke that tankers were able to pull up to the end of the subdivision and drop water rather than pulling down and trying to turn around.
Yeah. So he he picked the spot. And it was about hose length more than anything. Didn't want to have to go in either direction more than 700 feet. That's what he picked. And he said they used to be worried about, like they used to set them back from the road and have a paved approach area. He said they're not doing that anymore. And a good example of that is Providence Road, the subdivision on Providence Road. The standpipes are right on the side of the road. He said there's plenty of room there to park a truck right on the side to pump it and get another truck by it. That's why he wanted 24 feet of pavement width.
So you're at the end of your cul-de-sac, you have plenty of room, according to the fire chief, to be able to turn the tanker around?
Yes, that's a standard, that's a full-size cul-de-sac. It's a 60-foot radius on the right-of-way and a 100-foot radius on the
I know
pavement.
that we're going with less width on the road because.
Yeah,
of
no,
the
I didn't
space.
change the width.
Okay.
That's
Yep.
the pavement width in the cul-de-sac is standard design, yes.
As long as that's there, I'm good with that.
Yep.
Bill, this is Damon. I got a question. John, how much land are you giving back to the town as open space?
It's going to be about 32 acres total with the additional 10 acres.
Great, okay. That's great. That's a nice piece. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Existing house that you said is going to be incorporated into the homeowners association.
Correct.
Is that vacant right now, or someone living there, or?
Nope, it's vacant. It's under P&S right now. We sold it last week.
And they're aware of that?
They are aware of that. That's all in their purchase and sales agreement, the homeowners association. On the A&R plan, we had the easements for temporary construction easements down the right side of the road. We gave them an easement to use the driveway like it is until the road goes in. Yeah, that's all spelled out in the homeowners association. It's all spelled out in their PNS, I'm sorry. Yes. Oh, you gotta go to the board.
Yeah. Give us a few more minutes and then we'll open it to the community. I just want to make sure that we're dealt with all the questions we had originally.
They're all going to be duplexes, right?
No, I think there's going to be a mix of single family and duplexes, and the homeowners association has written that if there is a duplex, they have to pay an equal share. So if there's 4 single family and 4 duplexes, that would be a total of 12 shares of the homeowners, and there would be 12 equal shares. We didn't feel it was fair to make a single family homeowner pay more towards the homeowners association, so it'll be split up evenly.
Okay.
We've had some interest in doing just smaller ranches up there. It might end up that they're all smaller ranches too. We've had some interest in single floor, like 1,800 square foot, 2-bedroom ranches. We've been approached by at least 3 separate people in that aspect. So it might end up being ranches. I can't say. I don't know if we're going to be the ones building the houses. So that's why I'm telling everybody that it's probably going to be a mix.
Are you aware of, I had the question asked to me, are you aware of any easements or old car paths that access other property?
I'm not aware of any right-of-ways over our property that access other properties. The cart path that is on our property comes up, and I've left that in that open space path, so that still continues up to the same properties where it did. It goes up all the way to the back to where the really nice upland is. There's about 12 acres of really nice upland. So we're not cutting off that cart path. We're actually giving access and parking right at the end of the road to it. So I don't believe we're cutting off any right-of-ways or any. It can always be in an abutter's deed that they have a right for wood or something like that. I'm not aware of any. If it comes to anybody's attention, we'll address it.
All right. The other, you incorporated all the new low-impact development?
Yes, yes.
Drainage, all that stuff was?
Yes, this is all low-impact development. We're not using impervious pavement, but it is all low-impact development. All the drainage is low impact. We reduced the width of the driveways. We're using water quality swales with grass swales, not riprap swales or anything like that. And they're shallow and wide. which helps
Yeah.
reduce the flow.
So everybody's aware, the town has gone to a low-impact development criteria that reduces road widths in areas where it makes sense, like in an 8-lot subdivision, to reduce road coverage and use, instead of using stormwater management, putting it in stormwater drains, we're using the old country style to sort of just let the water goes back to where it belongs, so.
Shedding effect.
The shedding effect, right.
Where is the access to the open space in the parking area?
So it's right here between lot 7 and lot 8. It's a 25-foot strip that goes to the back, and I can give you a better idea on the 80 scale plan.
Yep,
Right
no,
here?
I got it here now. Okay.
So this is all open space in here.
Yep.
All the way up and into the back, and then this is open space over in here.
Okay.
All right, at this time, I'm going to open the questions to the community. We need, just put your hand up and we're going to ask you to say your name and where you live.
John Orlando, 19 Hartford Ave West.
Bill, sorry, when you have them approach a microphone, there's nobody at home to hear them.
Yeah, you want to come up and sit in the microphone? Oh, you can use that one there.
I'll pick it back when I get
In case you didn't hear me, John Orlando, 19 Hartford Ave West. You may have touched on this and I might have missed it. Are you doing any reconstruction on Hartford Ave West itself?
So no, the only reconstruction we would be doing is roundings coming into the site. So right where the road meets the other road, we'll be doing roundings, but basically that'll just match the edge of pavement that's there. We're not doing any widenings or anything like that.
Talking about this, the cistern that's going to store water, how will that be filled? From wells, or you'll be bringing it in?
I believe they bring the water in, fill it, and it's there if the fire department needs it.
Yeah, generally they fill the tanker and they bring the tanker in and they fill the cistern from the tank.
Oh, it doesn't work? Well, I think it goes through the TV.
Yeah, it goes onto the TV.
Really not a question, it's more of, we border the property, so.
Want to come up and show me where you are?
Name and
The Roy,
Name and address.
Lori and Lucia, 64 Hartford Ave West.
the Roy property.
Yes, this one.
Oh, yes, so you just abut us in one corner, you don't abut us around your entire property, and we'll let in the open space come up to your property. On that left-hand side, I actually purposely left a 50-foot strip from the open space to get up there. If the town is willing to give up some open space there, I have no problem bringing that all the way out to Hartford Ave. If the town wishes it, it does. I've already left a 50-foot wide strip there. So if you want to come on up here, I'll show you right on here. It's easier.
Yeah, I wanted to build there, and I was told no.
So I could leave, I left this 50-foot strip as part of this open space. I think I have enough open space that I could take that strip out of it and just leave a 50-foot.
The big gully that's.
Yeah, that's the big gully, but the wets don't totally close it off here. They don't go all the way up to the property line.
John, if you could do that, just so that land isn't landlocked, that would make,
Yeah, I have no problem doing that.
Area here is all, I've been there,
Yeah, I know.
Howells was going it, and it's, you can't drag on that.
Well, this is upland on the left side, so you could fill a little wets here eventually and come right up through here.
would they be able to put a road or driveway?
So I was originally gonna offer that to the Coffins, because I think their access is kind of messed up too. They have like an easement over driveway easement. So it would benefit probably both you guys if I left a 50-foot strip there
Yeah.
and just took it out of the open space, because I think we have plenty of open space that we can take that 50-foot strip out and leave it for you if you ever decide to do something.
Yeah, because my daughter would like to build.
Yeah. So I
want to know if I could get her access off of Emma's Court for a driveway.
So that, I think you could put a driveway through there. The other place might be between lots. I don't know if I could get it in there with, that's right where he wants the cistern, between lots 4 and lot 6.
Now, would that be a possibility of joining into the HOA for the road maintenance for abutters to be able to access the road to get to their property?
So let me just explain to you. So the problem with me doing just like a driveway easement through there, you're still on a piece of land that doesn't have any frontage. By giving you a 50-foot strip here, if you were to include that to your property, now you have 50 foot of frontage, and now you have a better case if you go for a large lot, a large lot like house lot. You have that frontage on, and there is room there for a driveway. We had that wetlands flag. There's about 18 feet from the wetland lines to the property lines. I mean, it does go down a little steep at the beginning. There would have to, you'd have to do some work to do it, but it would give you access to your lot
How
in the
big is
back.
that, the Roy lot, do you know?
I think it's about 15 acres or 18 acres. It's a big lot.
You might be able to even do a shared driveway there where you could do 2 houses.
14, well, I think we had that built.
What is that, 14?
Old sawmill.
There we go.
Yeah, that's
That's
yeah, that's not on this property though. That's on,
Yeah, that's the other side. Well, that's what I'm saying,
Right.
because it was an easement.
that easement's a little messy too. That'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, lot 4, because of the way it's shaped and the wetlands, is really tight for us to get a house on. If we had to give you a drive, it would be tough for us to give you a driveway through there and septic system. But I have no problem. I left that 50-foot strip there, and just for this, in case it came up, and I didn't even realize for you guys, I was thinking for the Coffins, because I know they have access, but it's over a driveway. It's like a driveway easement or something.
Yeah.
So that's why I had left that there anyway. Our original plan didn't have that 50-foot strip, and I changed it.
Good. Good. Any other questions?
Two online.
You got Bob Sweet on here, Bill.
Bob? You're on mute.
Am I still?
Oh,
Bill?
good.
The,
Name and address.
what did he say? He had, how many acres of, open space was he giving back?
So there's 22.37 acres in this as part of this subdivision, and then an additional 10 acres on the other side of the upland that we'd like to give additionally to the 22 acres. So it would be approximately 32.37 acres.
How much of that, open space is wetlands?
So there's approximately 11 and a half acres of upland and about 10 point something of wetland. So there's a good hunk of upland right in the open
meets-
space B.
Yeah, it meets the calculation
Yeah,
required by the
the
town.
calculations are on the plan, and it meets all the calculations for open space to wetlands.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Who else? Dan?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, Ann Mazar on 50 Pleasant Street. I just had a couple questions. It's hard for me to see exactly the piece that you're saying that you could cut off, but if it's uplands, you just make sure that you still have enough upland land in the open space, because you need to have 50%. Okay.
I'll make sure of that. I had it before I added, so I had it before I added that in. I had it before I even added that, so I should be fine, but I'll make sure. Absolutely.
Okay. I had some other questions. And thank you, for starting to mark the open space borders. That's great. if you could just talk to the planning board and possibly like the land use committee on the signs that you eventually do put up, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Before the first lot release, the town would need money for a conservation restriction, because so that you don't have to put a conservation restriction on, which is a lengthy process, but then you can move forward. So just want to let you know that.
Amount for that, or do you know the amount for that?
I don't, we have to figure that out. And one thing is we would need to see the open space and walk on it to figure that out.
Okay.
So maybe we can arrange to do that sometime. And then the other thing is about when the land would be turned over to the town. And I know Damon's on the call, but I'd like to know when that is going to happen, because since it's not a public road, what they've done in the past is, before the road's made public, the land needs to be handed over. So, I'd just like to know from the planning board what that situation would be.
Well, I would leave that up to the planning board, but I don't believe we have any problem with turning it over before lot releases. I know Damon was against that because in case something does happen while they're building the lots, then the town owns the property, and then the town can go after the developer. Whatever the town prefers, I have no problem either way, either turning it over once all the lots are built, or turning it over before we get a lot released. It doesn't matter to me either way. The way this open space is set up, all the really good upland is in the back, and most of the lots abut like wetland areas. So
right.
There's not, if we disturb it, we're going to be disturbing wetlands, so we shouldn't be in there anyway. So I don't think there's a problem with turning it over before the lots are released.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, looking at the property, I see that too, that it abuts wetlands, so that shouldn't be an issue, because it's more helpful for putting the conservation restriction on to have the land sooner rather than later. But the planning board, maybe you can let me know what you're going to do with that, or we can talk about it.
Situation where we ran into where.
Getting that again.
And Ian, I do have G&H putting pins at all the corners of the open space, so it'll be all staked for you when we walk it. So you'll be able to see it.
Okay, so those are the things I just want to make sure that they were covered.
Let the guys working on the project know where they are too, please.
John, when you said that you might not be building the property, does that mean that you might sell the property as a subdivision, or?
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to build the houses or not. We might. It's just, I can't say 100% that we're going to be the final builders of the houses. I just wanted the board to know that.
Okay.
I'm just trying to be honest with you guys that, but we're going to do all the permitting, and then if we do sell it, we might just sell individual lots to a builder or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll sell the whole subdivision, but all the HOA and all the docs will be all set up before that ever happens.
So possibly you might sell lots of just individuals and let them build their own house?
Yes.
So there's a perfect reason why you shouldn't have that
Yep.
open space. Because you're gonna be you could be dealing with 7 different builders in this place.
Yeah, so I'm like I said, I understand. I understand Damon's concern. We might sell it to a build. We've had interest from a couple builders. It depends. I think it depends on Kevin's mood of the day, really, of whether he's going to build it or not. He called me last Sunday at 10 o'clock at night saying we should build ranches there. That there's a need in the town for 1,800 square foot ranches. So that was the last thing he said to me about it, and but I just don't know if we're going to build it or not, honestly.
All right. Well done, Ann.
Yeah, I just the open space thing. Maybe I just want to talk about that more, because I'm just not sure how that would work. But we could talk about that at another time.
Yeah, Ann, you can call me and we can discuss it too.
I think, in this case where it is a private road, I think that doing it before the lot releases makes sense, especially if you're going to end up selling them.
Yeah, that's fine. I have no problem either way.
I think it makes sense. It's just we're going to have to be leery going forward. We don't want it to happen what happened with the other project where they built into the open space. And
yeah, and like I said, in this case, most of the borders are right on the right on the wetland or 5 feet from the wetland, and they're not, where this is an open space and you're going to have the tree lines on the definitive plans,
Yeah.
I don't see how that happens, but you never know.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? Right.
How many we
Other
want to
questions?
do before it bites us again? You want to keep doing it?
I think in this case, on a private road, we don't have the control we do over at a public road, Damon, but, the board, you guys can,
Especially if you're selling individual lots.
yeah, this is,
I think it should be done after.
this is a 5-member board, you guys, we can take a motion on that.
I think
and
it
we
should be
can
done
decide.
after, my opinion. We don't want to get in that same predicament.
I'll put a motion on the floor.
I'll make a motion to do it after development is lots of sized, so we don't end up infringing.
Second,
Okay, makes motion to what?
transfer the open space.
Transferring the
after
open space after,
Transferring the open space after development of the lots.
after the lots are staked out,
After all of them?
After they're staked or,
after they're surveyed and we know what they're doing, where the boundaries are.
Well, that's not the way.
Oh,
we traded.
Gary
that's
and
not the-
Hamlin had staked out the lots and laid them out, and they were expanded into the in-past stakes according to the engineer that staked them out.
Got it. Where
When
it is, so
when the subdivision is done and all the houses are built, that's when the land should be get transferred over to the town. Whether it's a public road or a private road.
So I can
Right
suggest
there,
something.
If there's any issues with the lots down the road, when Billy Bob or John or this guy over here goes in the wetlands and does something, we don't have to call Governor Baker to get the friggin' thing taken care of. Come on, how many, we're going through this right now.
What might be a happy medium is
I agree with that.
is to have the conservation restriction in place prior to lot releases, but don't turn the land over to the town until the lots are built.
Until the lots are built on.
That kind of locks in the open space and the conservation restriction on it, so you're not supposed to touch it. And then
That's
you could
fine.
turn it, then you could turn it over to the town at the end of the project. So
I'm
if something
okay with
does
that.
happen, you're not in that predicament.
Can I
And
ask
you
a
said-
question?
yeah.
So, like, let's say that it is sold and different individuals are making the lot or building on the lots. Would it be one developer that would own all the land? Or, like, where would the open space go if it was sold, I guess?
I really shouldn't have brought this up.
Yeah,
I don't
I know.
know. We might be building it. I just wanted to let it know that we may not be building it, but. we
Yeah,
might
you
be
know what,
building
Ian, I think that's,
it. I don't know. I can't even answer that
Yeah.
truthfully.
With 8
hold on, John,
individuals.
hold on.
Yeah.
I think that, that's not the board's prerogative anyways. We just got to figure out how we're going to transition this. We can't worry about who's building the houses, who's buying the lots. We don't have control over that. If he puts the conservation restriction in place, but doesn't transfer to the town, is that adequate to be able to, the conservation restriction is going to be marked at that point. So if they mess up, we have an opportunity to fix it before the land is transferred to the town.
Yeah, the problem with that is that it's the same situation. Once you put it in the conservation restriction, it's Article 97, so you have that same situation. But I wonder if we could do something where it's transferred to the town, but the restriction isn't put on it until the lots are sold and then the restrictions put on it. Because then you would have more flexibility. The problem was that it's under Article 97. So
We just transfer the property to the town and then we turn it into a restriction after the lots are developed.
that sounds better to me, but I think we should ask town council about that.
I'll talk to my counsel too. And another thing, Ann, so when we submit the definitive, we're going to submit simultaneously to Conservation Commission. And as I've asked, Guarded, we're going to permit, we're going to do NOIs. So the NOI will cover the road and all the lots. So the area that's going to get disturbed is going to be set by conservation. The NOI is already going to be for all 8 lots and the road. So if somebody, if we do sell a lot, they're only going to be able to clear the area because there's already going to be an order of conditions on the lot. So
Yeah,
they
that's-
have to go
that's-
back to amend it.
That's great in theory, John,
I
but
know.
as we've saw, we've seen in
understand.
another project, you know, in practicality, it doesn't always land.
Yeah,
that way.
I got you.
So I guess the question is, maybe we just make it part of the MOU and in agreement within the MOU, we transfer it to the town, and then we wait to put the restriction on until after. And we
Yeah, but
collect-
Bill, you're still in the same situation. If the
Why is
town
that?
owns the
If it doesn't have a restriction on it yet, then you don't have to worry about Article 97.
Okay, then the town can do what they want. We don't have to jump through hoops. They can, if there's a problem, I just trying to cover the town's problem right now that we're having.
No, I think that's what Ann's saying, is that we just transfer it to the town, but we don't put the restriction on until the lots have been developed.
I don't know what the big deal is about that. Why Ann is always trying to do this before. I don't, what does it gain? Is what I haven't gotten that answer yet.
Because, yeah, well, one thing is that if you're going to put a conservation restriction on it, it costs money, and then if the subdivision takes 10 years to build or a long time, then that amount of money might not cover the cost of putting the conservation restriction on, because costs could have increased. But I think that it might work to transfer the land to the town, not put the restriction on it until all the houses are sold. The only little glitch there would be that there would have to be enough open space given to the town so that it maybe there's wiggle room. I mean, the best is that everybody stays in their lot lines. They don't go in the open space period. That's the best. But
That doesn't happen.
I mean, it should happen. But anyways, but there has to be enough open space that if a border did have to be changed, there still would be the 55% open space and no more than 50% wetlands. That's all.
Okay, so why don't we plan on doing that?
Yep.
If everybody agrees to that,
All right, so what's the motion?
you satisfied with that, Damon?
Yeah, as long as the town doesn't have, we're not running into the problem that we're having. I know it's a private road and whatever, but it doesn't matter. There's always gonna be an issue. The town's gonna end up using town council for something like we're doing now, spending thousands of dollars on stuff that we shouldn't be spending, that we could have done with a simple lot line change. So, you know,
I think
I'm not trying to put more money on the applicant, but does tax revenue coming in from the land that the town would get? And I really doubt that 7 lots are gonna take 10 years to do. If they take over 5, I'm gonna be really surprised.
I mean, can I say one thing?
Sure.
I mean, when the planning board approves a plan, don't you expect the developer just to stay in the lot lines? I mean, wouldn't that be the best course of action?
Well, that is correct. The problem is, as we've found, you know, that's
Well, this
not
one
always the
situation.
case. Yeah, right.
This is kind of an
It
odd
could happen.
situation, I think, but
You know, there's always a bad apple, and but you know, we're just trying to cover the town's butt.
yeah.
Well, why don't we table this discussion? I don't want to get off topic here. Why don't we take this, obviously needs further discussion, but in this case, we'll manage it that way. You'll transfer the land to the town. We'll hold it until the lots have been developed, and then we'll do and who knows, you might be the litmus test going forward.
All right. Yeah, I'll discuss that with our lawyer and I'll get him to figure it out.
Okay.
No problem.
But we're not going to put in a restriction because of the Article 97, because if you mess up, then getting that land, you know, transitioning land one way or the other is too difficult.
Yep.
So if everybody's satisfied with that,
I am.
Is there still a motion on the
Okay,
floor?
I don't think we should make a motion until with the definitive.
No,
plans here.
we'll wait until the definitive
I'm
plan.
not satisfied with it at all. We need to discuss it further at a later date.
Well, there's
Okay.
going to be a definitive plan coming, so we can do it that day.
Yep, so this is just preliminary. This is
Yeah.
just in a general manner, so we'll be submitting, like I said, we'll be submitting the definitives. They've been working feverishly since the last meeting. They need about another week and a half to finish them up. We'll be submitting to Conservation and Planning Board. So we'll
Whatever
have
we,
that whole
whatever we
committee.
come up with as a board has to be a hard and fast rule going forward.
I agree.
We just can't, keep blurring the line on that, on this subject of the conservation land. But for this one, you can transfer the land and then we'll,
And then you'll wait till they're built and then do the.
yeah, make
the
sure everything's
restriction.
right. and
That
then
should
we'll do
work.
Conservation restriction.
Yeah,
So-
that should work.
All right, you need a motion to continue?
I would
he
ask for an
needs-
approval of the preliminary
He's
plan
asking
so
for
that we can
approval
submit the
of preliminary
definitive.
plan. So I need a motion on the floor. If everybody's satisfied,
Make a motion to approve the preliminary plan for Emma's Court, 29 Hartford Ave West, with the restrictions set in place on the conservation restriction
after the lots are built.
after the lots are built.
Second.
So I met with the selectmen 2 weeks ago and they changed the name of the road to Brackett Road.
Okay, it's now Brackett Road.
And that's what it is on the definitive plans. It's Brackett Road now on the
Okay.
definitive plans.
Duly noted as Brackett Road. Do I have a second?
John?
Second.
John, did,
All those in favor?
James Quirk, aye.
John, aye.
Barry, aye.
I have to abstain.
Oh, yeah, Damon has to abstain.
Okay.
Bill, aye. So 4-0, the preliminary is approved.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next up is the continuation of public hearing for 35 Cape Road. The applicant would please come up. And unfortunately,
Bill, did Tom Morelli ask about doing next the
what's that?
local rapid recovery plan?
Well, I thought that was going on tonight, so we scheduled a,
Oh, yeah, the LI, is, all right, we'll jump to that real quick. I believe we have some members for the LRRC on with the Economic Development Committee.
Yep.
And this is Jim from Carp Strategies. I'm here and I've got some slides I can show for LRRP.
Could you just announce your name and who you work for, please?
Yep, this is Joseph Sakawi. I'm a senior consultant for Carp Strategies. We are the economic development and urban planning consulting firm that has been assigned by Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development to support Mendon on the local rapid recovery program.
Just so everybody's aware, we've been working on a plan with the, Kim and I did a walkthrough of the town, and I think we came up with several real good ideas. He has also talked to several other members of the community, and I think we're just trying to get our hands around, what the future gateway of Mendon could look like. And I'll let you take it away.
All right, thanks, Bill. Can I share my screen? Looks like
You're
it's
already
gonna-
on here. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. So I'll give a quick overview of what we're going to talk through. I'll give a quick overview of the program itself, go over the kind of specific geographic area that we're looking at. We will, and we can fly through this part because I know you guys have a full agenda tonight, but the state would like us to share some of the like data diagnostic stuff that we've taken a look at. We'll share some of the stakeholder interview findings that from folks we've talked to so far. And then talk through some preliminary project ideas that we've heard, but where I want to spend the most time tonight is actually just asking this full planning board and economic development committee where your priorities for the project may lie. I see this as kind of a brainstorming session for us so that we can then come back to Bill and to Kim with a kind of full menu of options to choose from. So for those who are not aware or need a refresher on it, the Local Rapid Recovery Program is a state program that's got two main drivers. So the first is to support the Commonwealth in identifying the impacts of COVID on commercial districts across the state so that they can tailor their grant programs, their assistance to local communities in a way that's actually helpful for you. As opposed to them just inventing something at the State House and hoping it works. The second, from our perspective, the more important piece is to help you as a community come up with data-driven plans that will aid in your in economic growth in the town of Mendon. And that's where we're spending most of our time. So to give you the very quick overview of the project, we've been meeting with different business owners, different members of these committees, did a site visit, did some data analysis, and are now doing this kind of brainstorming meeting to come up with a comprehensive list of project ideas of what's kind of the low-hanging fruit out there that Mendon can do to help spur economic growth. We'll then work with Kim, work with Bill and others to narrow that list down to from however many ideas we hear across this process to about 10 that we go into a little more depth in, and at the end of the project, the ultimate goal is that you have a playbook of here are action-oriented implementation plans for 5 priority projects. And we can talk a little bit about what the scale of those will be. That process will wrap up in August, and we'll look at funding sources, what regulations need to change, who are the key players that need to be involved in the next steps. It'll be we want it to be very action oriented for the town so that it acts as the guidebook for your priority areas. We're specifically looking at this area around Route 16 from, at one end zone, Sports Pub down to kind of across from the Imperial car dealerships. And that includes the area that the town put out the RFP for as a kind of central part of the district, where there are probably lots of ideas that come out of this that will certainly have use across the full town of Mendon, but we're specifically looking at this Route 16 corridor for this project. To go through just a couple of very quick kind of demographic and business data sources, and I'm sharing this mainly so that I can check the box with the state and then get back to focusing on what's actually useful to you guys. We've got a population of about 6,400. That's grown pretty significantly since 2000. What stuck out to us is the fact that Mendon is a pretty wealthy community compared to the rest of Worcester County. And as we look at some of the other demographics, you've got population ages that are about in line with the county, more educated, nearly universal high school diploma, which is pretty unique. Also about 97% non-Hispanic white in the town. If we look specifically at the businesses in the area of the map that I showed before, we've got about 62 total businesses that are working within that area. They employ, it should be 157, that's a typo on the slide, 157 employees. Within that, there's the majority are retail, trade, and services. There's also a pretty significant finance, insurance, and real estate contingency of companies in there. We have not heard of any business closures as a direct result of COVID. And when we went through and did our site visit in the early in the month of April, only had one vacant storefront. So we've done about 7 interviews so far, and I'm just going to pull out kind of some of the highlights that we have been hearing. So across the board, people are impressed with the public school system. We've heard that there's insufficient parking in the study area. We've heard a lot of people talking both about the challenges of Route 16 and the kind of current state of the road, speed limits in particular. But we also know that Route 16 is being upgraded by MassDOT. So we kind of knowing that the town is already engaged with MassDOT, we're going to kind of stay away from the street upgrades on this project, just knowing that that's something that's already being addressed. Related to that, though, kind of there's a lack of pedestrian amenities, so restrooms, sidewalks, and a lack of foot traffic that can impact some businesses. Speaking about COVID-19 impacts, we heard that the town's adjustment to virtual town events was relatively smooth and fast. We have heard that business is declining or has declined as a result of COVID. That's of course not a huge surprise. We did hear about success from local businesses with the PPP and other state and federal assistance programs. And then we also heard from a number of people that as restaurants opened up, there was a lot of support for local restaurants. And then in thinking about some of the barriers to development, and this kind of refers to that that site at North Ave and 16 that is up for potential development, but these are generally true kind of across the board. High cost, there's right now a high cost to development and construction. Costs right now are far, far higher than they were at the beginning of COVID. That's going to take a couple of years to level out. We also keep coming back to one of the biggest issues is the lack of critical infrastructure, water and sewer. On the site that inhibits the ability for restaurants to come in, for larger development to come in, and that's something that we've heard very clearly is a challenge that the town's facing. There's also the perception that this is a commuter zone. Route 16 has a ton of traffic going through, that people don't necessarily think of it as a commuter district. There's opportunity to change that potentially if that's the direction the town wants to go. We've heard that there have historically been some challenges around what's allowed and unallowed in zoning. Indications are that that's gotten better over the years, but there's still maybe some lingering things that we're hearing about. And then just kind of, and this is true across the number of communities that we're working with. And we're doing the same project with Upton and Grafton as well. I'm hearing the exact same thing there. There's the concern that, development at any scale can kind of threaten the historic character or the rural nature of the area. And that's something that we would want to be cognizant of.
I literally looked at him and I go, yeah, that's kind of exactly what I'm trying to do, actually.
As we think about some of the project ideas that can come out of this, this is kind of a small sample of what we've been hearing. We've collected kind of a much longer list of what project ideas we've been hearing from different stakeholders that Kim or Bill have brought up, or that other members of this committee have brought to our attention. This is really a sample list. There's a couple that stood out. There's a lot in kind of local business development, and some in municipal leadership and kind of town capacity that we've heard a lot about. So some ideas that we've heard so far to create kind of formal connections between the town and businesses, make sure that there are clear lines of communication, promotional programs for local businesses. Your neighbors in Grafton have had a lot of success with that. Facade improvements that help align existing businesses with like the new design guidelines that have been approved. On the municipal capacity side, it could look like building connections between the different committees and boards that exist, so that you guys are coming together more often and can collaborate more frequently. Creating a marketing plan for the town-owned parcels, so that when you re-put out the RFP, that you get more traction, get more attention from developers, put it on more radars. And then finally, helping set up the engineering study that would be needed for water sewer connections, costing those out, and assessing, is it really feasible to connect to Hopedale, to connect to Uxbridge, the other communities where there are options. These are just a few of the different ideas that we've heard. We'll take kind of all the full list of ideas, work to narrow that down with the town to kind of a final list of 5 that get very defined action plans that we will kind of do the legwork in behind the scenes, so that you guys have something that you can implement right away. You know where to go get funding for it. I can imagine that there will be funding opportunities at the state level for projects that come out of the LRRP program. That hasn't been announced yet, but it's something that I suspect will happen. So I'd love to transition to getting some feedback from the folks in this meeting of what some of the priorities that you think are important in this area are. So first, just ask if there's any questions about the presentation before we jump into a couple more specific questions.
We had talked about as far as infrastructure within the community, and I know that the Mass DOT is sort of taking handling of Route 16 as far as sidewalks, but have we looked at other areas of potential sidewalk usage and upgrade? Number one, down along Main Street, down along Maple Street, we have a nice sidewalk at the beginning, but it sort of ends and doesn't complete. So I didn't know if we had taken a look at those items.
Yeah, so those are definite possibilities, and one of the things that we have on our longer list is sidewalk upgrades. Those do kind of extend beyond the boundaries that we had set up initially in this project. That was in coordination with Kim in the state. That those though are fairly arbitrary. So expanding this project to make sure that Maple and Main are included, I think is certainly a possibility, and the sidewalk extension something that we'll keep on that on the list of projects to review.
When you were speaking with the community, did you capture the questions of zoning and additional uses, or were they just arbitrary statements, or did they actually give you examples, or?
I wasn't on the call that came up with. I would have to go back and take a look, but I can follow up on that. Certainly, if we did proceed with a project plan around zoning, because I know that that's something that the planning board has done a lot of work and made tons and tons of progress on over the past few years, we would make sure that we're suggesting something that is concrete and not something that you've kind of taken care of already. So we'll, before a project idea like that would advance, we'll do the due diligence behind it to make sure that it's not just a one-off comment or some confusion by an interviewee that gets that on the list.
Would you be interested? We are obviously beginning our master plan development, and one of those things is going to be an online survey that we're going to be running very shortly. Would you be interested in the results of that survey?
100% we would. That would be great, and we will have a conversation fairly soon with the Central Massachusetts Planning Commission, who's conducting that. So we'll coordinate with them, but if we can't get it from them, I'd love to get the survey results from you guys.
I'm sure they'll provide them. I mean, they'll work in every effort with the town to.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that'll be an issue. That's all I had. You guys have any other questions? No. I don't know if there's anybody in the community that has a question. Dan?
Last week.
Bob, did you have a question?
I do. Good evening, Joseph. As far as water and sewer goes, have you looked into that, and who would be responsible for the lion's share of making that happen? Would that be for the state or for the residents of Mendon?
I mean, that's not something that I can really answer now. It would be a combination. Part of what we would do as part of this project is figure out where the bulk of that responsibility would lie and what it would take to get kind of the realistic cost estimates of what that's going to take and kind of what your options with the different communities to connect to are. So we're still at the phase where we've identified that that's something that the town would like to figure out. And our next step would be to actually work with you guys to figure out how to make that come to fruition, and what what you would need to do to get answers on that. So I don't have an answer to that at this time.
Okay, so it's got to be researched a little more, whether or not it's going to be business only, residential business, or whatnot.
100%. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else, Dan? I think that's all the questions, Joseph, on that segment. So if you want to proceed.
Yeah, so the question that I wanted to pose to the group, and maybe if we could get the two boards to weigh in first and then members of the public, just what are the, thinking through economic development and kind of business supports, what are the biggest challenges that you see the Route 16 corridor facing?
We just hit on one, the water and the sewer. I mean, it adversely affects business, what type of business you can put in. Public water supplies are difficult along the corridor. Obviously, continual use of high volume businesses of having to upgrade septics and septic systems is obviously, costly for the small to average business. So, I would say that is probably a big part of it. I do know, I'll give an example, like the drive-in, just put a septic in, and I think it cost them like $300,000 for the septic system. I mean, we're not talking a $25,000 septic system in the backyard. We're talking significant. So I think it's situations like that have created a lack of infrastructure for the business community. Mendon really for a lot of years, didn't have a commercial, real commercial base to it. It's starting to develop now, but I think there's still some restrictions holding it back. And with the design guidelines and stuff we have now, it still allows the boards to control what the development looks like and what's allowable, you know.
Yeah, and certainly the water and sewer issue has come up, I think, in every interview that we have done. So we've heard that one and think that that's likely something that will become a part of this this project effort to help align a plan for how that can be addressed. So we definitely hear that one.
How about street lighting? Is that something that Mass DOT would tackle, or would that be something more along your line?
That's something that we would have to look at the MassDOT plans. That's something that that in some cases could be community led, and other places MassDOT would be doing it. And MassDOT's going to have certain requirements at which they or a baseline at which they install lighting, and that I'm not sure kind of what that line is, but that's something that we could definitely look at. When we did our site visit, that was one of the things that came up, is particularly for, you know, in some of the large parking lots, in some of the areas where you do have sidewalks on one side of 16, there's just very little lighting. So that's something that that we can kind of add to the projects list to assess further.
Tom, you had a question?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to speak to the challenges that Route 16 faces, and say many of us have identified water and sewer as a concern, but what I'd like to see done is a comprehensive. In one way, the state could help. It's a comprehensive study about the feasible or most feasible ways to get it there, because right now we are getting it from Hopedale, but there's problems with that contract. Really, some places we've talked about are Uxbridge, Upton, Bellingham, building our own. One way the state could help, I think, is really funding a study on what the most feasible approach is, so we can start down that path and center the conversation around that when we're talking about how to actually get water and sewer to the center of town.
Yeah, that's you know, in thinking about how to solve the effort, that kind of study is a very critical first step. Thanks for bringing that up.
Anybody else?
I can't tell who it is on my screen, but JL, it looks like, has a hand up.
Yes, Jane Lowell, 40 Millville Street. I think I'd be concerned about traffic, because I know about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the traffic is backed up, stopped on Route 16 from Milford by the drive-in all the way up to the lights. And the same on North Avenue. I mean, the traffic is amazing.
Yeah, Jane, we're studying that right now with Mass DOT. They're doing a whole plan that is supposed to be starting to take place within the next couple of years. I think Route 16 is going to look a lot different than it does today.
I understand that, but if you have businesses in that area, there's still going to be a problem accessing Route 16 from those businesses if you're developing in that area. I mean, traffic is traffic, and they can widen the road and they can put in roundabouts or whatever, but there's still going to be a lot of traffic, and we also get a lot of traffic, obviously, from 495 coming from the north and the south. So,
unfortunately, I think that's a derivative of being the cut through from 146 to 495, and
well, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter the reason. It exists, and putting businesses along Route 16 is going to exacerbate the problem. All right.
Great, thank you, Jane.
Look, Bill, you got Bob Sweet up there, and you got Tom Morale up there.
I think they already asked their questions, right?
No, I have another one, Bill.
Oh, go ahead.
What Jane spoke to is very true. Route 16 is horrible from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It goes way past my shop, and I'm what, half mile down the street? So has anybody discussed whether there would be a turn lane or any other way to alleviate traffic in that manner?
Well, unfortunately, what everyone needs to realize is we don't have control over Route 16. That's a state road. Mass DOT is doing a study on that road currently right now. They're going to come up with a plan to manage it, and I would assume their ultimate goal is to manage the traffic on Route 16. They're aware of the traffic situation. I mean, it isn't only Mendon. I mean, you go through periods of Uxbridge, you go through periods of Milford and Hopedale. Everybody's dealing with the same thing, and I think they're trying to, you see what's happening over by the hospital right now. I think what they're trying to do is figure out a plan that they can get this traffic to flow better. It's never going to be perfect, but if we can alleviate some of that, I think that's their ultimate goal when they're done.
Bill, do you have any insight onto whether or not traffic breaks free a little bit better after Hartford Ave and going into Uxbridge, or does it stay tight all the way through and until you get to where 16 splits?
Our heaviest traffic pocket is from the end of Maple Street to the end of Hartford Avenue West.
Okay, that's what I thought.
There are splits in both directions that change the numbers, but those are our heaviest traffic pockets.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Were there other challenges? If not, I can switch to our next.
I just wanted to.
Hi, John.
I just want to reiterate to people that this process, the reason why it's so important is because we're identifying such challenges as where we need to build more turn lanes or where we need to widen roads. That's what we're trying to find out is what the town really needs and make state resources available for them. So, you know, that's all part of this process.
Yeah, thanks for making that statement, and certainly we'll, you know, as more information becomes available from MassDOT, and I'm not sure what their timeline is, but we'll make sure that what we're doing does coordinate with that and align with that. We are just making sure that we're not going to, as a result of this project, use the community's resources in this project to tell MassDOT things that they're already working on. I want to kind of pivot us to, you know, thinking about what some of the solutions in this program can be, and this is, you know, kind of aligned with the sample projects that I shared earlier. And so thinking of kind of tactical, small and kind of mid-scale things that can be implemented in a short time frame. So, you know, 3 months to 6 months to a year. What are some of the things that people would like to see happen for the businesses in the community in this area?
I gotta leave here by 9, Bill. I gotta be out of here by 4 in the morning.
That's going to be a problem for the 35 Cape Road.
I'm leaving at 9.
Yeah, gotcha. It, I'm not sure that I can come up with anything that would be an immediate future need other than advertising on the website page or something like that, but we've tried those things before. They haven't really worked out in the past, so. But I'm going to have to, Joseph, is there much longer? Because I got a public hearing that is awaiting.
This was my last slide. The only other thing that I was going to share is if there are ideas that people have that they want to reach out about. My address is on the screen. You can also, Kim is kind of serving as the coordinator for this project on the town side. So you can reach out to either one of us, and the ideas will get through.
I'll be in touch with you, Joseph, to hook you up with CMRPC.
All right, sounds good. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you, EDC, for coming to tonight's meeting.
Of course, happy to be here. And I'm
I'll when I get involved with back involved with them with CMRPC, I'm sure I'll make you aware.
all right, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, back to where we were. Sorry, gentlemen. I presume you've been working forward. I'll let you take it away where you're at now, and
I can take it where
Can you hear me okay?
yeah.
We made the attempt after the last meeting to look hard at, despite our disagreement, our attorney's disagreement, and our disagreement with how the abutters are looking at this, or their read on the zoning bylaws. We decided, well, we'll try to do our best we can to see what we can get for space and alleviate any concerns. So we did. We reached out. I had the engineers look at it from a practical standpoint. We could shift the building 15 feet, and we could put a berm where the plantings are now to raise the plantings, so that would give you a better visual and potentially noise reduction. We would reach out to the solar company. We'd have a dialogue with them anyway and see if we could put plantings on there, the true abutting piece of property, to further alleviate abutters' concerns. We had the attorney, after the engineers drew it up, and we have a print of it there if you want to see it, but after we did that, we had the attorneys send a letter to the abutters' attorney to explain what we were offering, and that our offering was on a table based on, even though we believe we are right in doing what we were doing, that we would be willing to concede that and try to make it more palatable to them to do that. We did that. It's called a reasonable man standard, to try to meet people halfway, and we're willing to do that. I had priorly written to one of the abutters to see if they wanted to meet informally, whatever they wanted to do. We got a letter back from the abutters' attorney, which I sent to, my attorneys actually sent it to you guys and to Bill, and I forwarded it to Bill to make sure he got it. And they rejected it. They're holding their stand of how they read the zoning bylaw, and although contrary to what we read it and our attorneys read it, they don't have any movement on their end. So from our perspective, is we'll keep the plan as is. We don't see any benefit to doing something that they don't want or don't want willing to, talk about. So that's why we're here.
And just go briefly, if you don't mind, I passed a sketch out and I've got a presentation board up on the easel. The sketch is basically the lot configured the same way as in the previously submitted site plans. The The red box basically shown within the footprint of the building is the kind of the pre-existing location. We took the building and the parking and slid everything north that 15 feet. What it does is it increases the separation between the southerly boundary and the edge of parking, obviously that 15 feet to just under 25 feet. It does, because we're pushing the building north, we do have about a 6,000 square foot decrease in impervious area, so there is a benefit there. Certainly there's more opportunity for planting on the southerly side of the driveway, basically that runs to the south side of the building, being kind of that customer interface part of the building. So again, as Fran had mentioned, that strip between the parking and the boundary could certainly be bermed and planted. And I do just want to remind everybody that that building proposed has a height of just over 18 feet, so it's not a high-profile building. So I do think that a berm and screening could certainly be effective in blocking that view from abutters on Bates Road and Edward Road.
We could do the berm and the extra plantings either way. That doesn't impact it. If the minute we start moving the building, we get into stormwater management, the whole process again, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
We're not talking about small dollars. This is still expensive to do what we did, but it's not like doing redo the stormwater management system is quite large. So that's where we're at.
Okay, so in fact, you'd be willing to slide the building over 15 feet is what you're telling us?
If we got the abutters on board to accept the project.
Well, I can't speak for the abutters. I did, and this information is for me to share with my board. I did a bunch of research on these type of situations. The bylaw as it's written is extremely ambiguous. I'm having a hard time coping with the fact that we've created a bylaw that says we have to be 200 feet from a home, and but you have to maintain natural vegetation. Well, we all know that when you build it, if the building has to be offset 200 feet, we know that emergency equipment, everything has to be able to circle the building. So that in itself is an ambiguous part of the bylaw. It would have to be some type of road structure back there. So it doesn't make sense that we would make a bylaw that, going back to previous comments, the situation was it's kind of like lost my thought here for a second, but I'll get back to it. I'm going to jump on to something else right this second. Where I spend a lot of my time is looking up at these bylaws where where the town has created a bylaw that, number one, we're looking at a really not in a butter because another piece of property in between, and we're stretching the confines of that bylaw into the next one. But the way the bylaw was written, it talks about the districts. It talks about one district to the other. I don't think it ever took into the fact that I was looking at Mr. Hodges' plan, and it struck me that any type of tolerance of the bylaw to strict adherence would be detrimental to the property. So, and I've dealt with this before. So I went on and looked at, Fine Law and a few other places regarding zoning regulations where we've written a bylaw that causes an issue with the property. And everything that it points to is referred to as a taking. And I'll explain a taking as the the property, by a bylaw we have written, we have now devalued the property. The town has now devalued the property. And looking at this, it looks like we've eaten up by our bylaw about 30% of the property, maybe more if you do the 100-foot buffer line, but continually all the way down the entire property. It's probably more than 30% of the property. I mean, I didn't have Mr. Hodges' plan, and I can't really, but if looking at this plan, if we break out the 200-foot setback and the 100-foot setbacks, we're taking a substantial piece of the property. So sometimes when you write these bylaws, we need to be careful that we're not doing that. And I've got several great cases here where it occurred. One is from Fine Law and one is from the APA, the policy guide on takings. And there's actually a policy already out there. So this is just to make the board aware that I think what the applicant is trying to do with the buffering, I'm concerned for the town in the case that we have a building that almost meets the setback. How short are we of the setback at this point?
For which setback?
From the house?
We need to slide it forward about another 4.5 feet to make that 200 feet. So just over 195 feet away from the house.
You're 195 feet by moving this building 15 feet.
That's correct. And one thing I'd like to state too is that
We're close.
we're based on a GIS location of that house, which could be plus or minus a few feet at best. So, I throw that out with kind of that sense of accuracy in mind.
Okay. With that question being answered, I'm looking at, once again, the refer to natural vegetation. Obviously, my concern would be that there be created buffer, whether it's within yours or within what the solar farm will let you do, and create enough of a buffer that it protects their butters from, well, the residential zone from complications with the building and what's going on. Once again, I have an issue with how the bylaw was written entirely, because here we were requiring the setback from the building, but yet we're saying the natural vegetation has to take place up to that 200-foot point. You pretty much met the 200-foot point, so that wouldn't allow for emergency equipment vehicles, obviously, to go around the back of the building, because by the bylaw. So I think the bylaw is extremely ambiguous. As we, I'm defer to town council on, her statements and suggestions at past meetings, and I think this is a tough one. So, I'm going to take, if you guys are done, I'm going to take any further questions from the community. Then I say we take a vote and we make a decision. Do we have questions, Dan?
Yeah, you got a couple on there, Bill.
Eric and Ann.
Eric, I'll give you an opportunity.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Eric Hodge, 3 Bate Street. So I understand the applicant, had his opportunity to speak towards his, proposed compromise. My argument here is that, this buffer zone that has been at issue this whole time is meant to protect the rural residential from the abutting highway business district. Any read other than enforcing that is not providing that protection, and it puts undue burden on those homes and residences in the immediate area. I just happened to pull out my drawings on that buffer zone as well. And I dispute what the applicant just said about it being, just a few feet difference. Looks like it's much closer to 40 feet than 12 or 4. I forget what exactly they said. So not, unsubstantial amount of distance that the building itself would need to be moved. Never mind that the parking lot, as the bylaw does state, cannot be used for any other purpose other than screening and vegetation.
Hey, Bill, just, I'm gonna make sure I heard correctly. The applicant, this is Damon Tinio, planning board member. The applicant did move the building 15 feet from the original proposed plan?
That's correct.
That's
15 feet
correct.
north.
Okay, so he already did move it and he's willing to do the buffer. I mean, so if it's, if we're a discrepancy of a couple different things and it's 5 feet, 10 feet, he did move it the best he could, so. I mean, if it was 75 feet, it would be one thing. We're talking 5, 10 feet here, not even the length of a car.
We sure of those?
Again,
We're not sure on that at all.
I took my location off of MassGIS, so it's based on that mapping. So it could be off a few feet, and we could
Right,
verify.
but neither one of you is a
South
guaranteed.
Instrument. If
Neither one of you know exactly how many,
I don't believe so.
how many feet it is, correct?
that's correct. I don't think it's
Applicant
more
or
than 40 or 50 feet. I think it's less than that.
All
But
right, well, I don't want to get too far off topic here, but that's why, Mr. Hodges, that's why we have these public hearings. They're in times of when our zoning bylaws aren't fair to everyone. The applicant happens to be a property owner of the town or an eventual property owner of the town. The town can't infringe on his rights either. And so we have to be reasonable about our assessment of the zoning bylaws in town. They're not black and white always. That's why I brought this information today that I had researched, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that's aware of what they consider takings, or I could have gone further into indiscriminate bylaws where the town is overstepping its bounds of reasonableness. This is a situation that happens constantly. If we're governing to a foot or a number of feet, whether it's a buffer or vegetation, or if you feel that somewhere across 180, 190, whatever the actual footage is to your house, that this is going to harm you, then you'd have to seek resolve. I'm not sure. I consider, and I still measure the old country way, 2 telephone poles. I mean, that's pretty significant distance. And so I guess my questions of the bylaw have to utilize everything we know about the property, the area. I mean, ensure the fact that we're trying to protect you as best we can, but we also have to protect the applicant. And either way, and also in scope, we need to protect the town. If we wrote a disingenuous bylaw by accident, incidentally, I mean, we have to consider that. I mean, not every bylaw is written perfectly. As I've said to you before, that's how the town ended up in a battle on adult entertainment by a poorly written bylaw that cost the towns hundreds of thousands of dollars. And, that was a bylaw that was written that The town tried to impose every ounce of that regulation, and the court came back to the town and said, no, that's unreasonable, you can't do that. So that's why we have these hearings. The board themselves have to have to review this stuff and make prudent decisions. And it's level of harm, I guess you would say. Are we harming the applicant more by setting that buffer zone? Or are we harming you more by allowing it? I mean, that's a decision that we take in a vote. But with all that being said, that's why we review these applications. They're not always black and white.
The berm that you're proposing on the amended plan, how high is the berm?
We actually haven't really worked out a detail for it, but I think with that 24 feet, that berm could be easily 6 feet high, maybe even a little bit higher.
Before vegetation?
That's correct.
Well, and if this does go forward, and I'm not making any insinuation one way or the other, but if this does go forward, I would work with the abutters to be sure that that's what they wanted.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe they don't want to stare at a big buffer along the side. Maybe
some
they
people
want,
find it unattractive to find a big berm.
yeah,
You know,
maybe they
sometimes the
want
trees are more
something better. Thicken that buffer zone up. But once again, we haven't even taken a vote, so I don't know the board's position currently.
I think you get
As a
more
lot of people know, I refrain from talking about these subjects outside a meeting. I don't like ex parte conversations. When people approach me, I'm very vague. But my job as chair is to bring the information I feel is necessary to in front of the board so they can make their own decision.
Bill, let me know if you're ready for are we ready to take a vote, or what do you want to do on something?
I think we had Ann had a question, I believe is correct. Eric, were you done, or did you want to add more? Or?
I think what's been said is what needed to be said.
Okay. Ann?
Hi, I had a comment on the vegetative border and the arborvitaes that are planted there. The bylaws and subdivision regulations encourage native plantings. And so I'd like the planning board to request something like eastern red cedars, which is an evergreen tree, winterberries, low junipers, red chokeberry, a mix of native vegetation, and also to thicken the border.
We were aiming the arborvitaes a lot of times provides better screening for people, but we have no real preference. We're amicable to stuff like that. I'm thinking the more height, more coverage we get, the better off we are for protecting the abutter.
Eastern red cedars grow tall like arborvitaes, but they're native and they're more attractive. They provide something for wildlife. So
white pines.
Excuse me?
White pines, we used them at my other location. That worked out real good. They grew really fast. They're full tree. They fill out nice. They're natural to the area.
That could be a possibility, but I think that other plant material should be mixed into it, so it's not just a line of trees. And eastern red cedars with pines might work.
I was kind of talking about thickening up that. So during the winter time, it's non-visible. Evergreens would prevent that.
The evergreens would be all year round, where some of the other ones are not. So it's always that mix, and I
Well, that's what I was going to suggest. Some type of mix.
Yeah, I think we can work on that.
Certainly. Yeah, we're amicable to it. It's just a matter of trying to accomplish the best for the abutter in the case of, if we're going to do that, and let's try to do the best we can to shield it, but we're amicable to it.
Yeah, I was thinking of a mix definitely with the evergreens, for the blocking, pines and eastern red cedars, but then in front of that, winterberries, chokeberries, low juniper, like a mix.
I did the giant mountain laurel in that same, we had a buffer zone that we were trying to enhance, make it thicker. So we used a giant, I think it's called giant, I'm not a botanist or anything, so it's a giant mountain laurel. They're big, they grow huge, and they're nice cover.
Yeah,
And they
mountain
fit-
laurels in the mix might be good too. I think Kathy has a comment on this.
They're pretty nice. I could come down the park, I got them down there.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I really would want the screening satisfactory to the abutters.
We've got other hands up.
Yeah, two more, Kathy and Jane.
Kathy?
Hi. So my understanding of this bylaw is that its spirit is to protect those who live outside of the business district. Am I correct on that?
That's correct.
Okay. So here's where I'm struggling, because I see a homeowner whose property value is going to tank. So he is paying a high price for locating this very large building in a site where it's really getting squeezed onto that spot based on their space needs. So I guess I'm concerned that the board overlooked, or could not see this coming, that, these are residents, their entire lives and their income is spent to build a home, and it can be gone in a heartbeat in our town if we just dismiss what the bylaw, the spirit of the bylaw. So it's a comment, and I think it makes me leery that it's so important for the board to be able to anticipate issues like this. And I mean, I think if we looked at the size of the building and we looked at the proximity of where it was all being proposed, there should have been sirens going off, to know that, okay, this could be a potential problem at the get-go. And, I guess not starting, with those sirens is, it's a disservice to the community, to people who want to come in and establish business here. And it's just a comment that, I hope moving forward that we are more mindful of why we have bylaws, what they're aimed to achieve, and that there can be a unifying ground that we can all work from. And that's it. Thank you.
Kathy, thank you for your support.
Kathy, to answer your question is, I think when the bylaw was originally written, that was the intention. If I was to fit a building on there with the natural vegetation and everything, that building would need to probably be 1/3 its size. I'm looking at Mr. Hodges' drawing here with the radiuses, and that's what the board needs to look at. Are we damaging the property? Now, you made the claim that it's going to greatly devalue Mr. Hodges. I think with the proper screening and building up that natural vegetation in between the two, we're protecting Mr. Hodges. We're requiring more out of these people than we have probably out of any application I've had in front of me. We're making them move a building. We're making them, and you can agree or disagree, but the problem is you're looking at harm from one direction. The town cannot harm the applicant either, and that's where our bylaw comes into question. But looking at Mr. Hodges' drawing, I would say they would have to make that building 1/3 the size. Is that harming the applicant?
No, that's working within the confines of what fits on that property. The bylaws were in place at the time that the applicant looked at purchasing this property. they were more than welcome to review those at the time. And I have this feeling that, you know, they were disregarded, hoping that we wouldn't notice it effectively.
Regard this applicant. Any applicant would be adhered to a property that they had to pay a purchase price for, whatever that may be. I have no idea. A purchase price. Has it, the guy who owns it now, I think, is Mr. Wenger. Mr. Wenger. Have we devalued Mr. Wenger's property? Forget this applicant. Take him out of the equation. Have we greatly devalued Mr. Wenger's property by our bylaw?
Respectfully, Mr. Chairman, both Mr. Wenger and the town have already done so by subdividing his property repeatedly such that it was divided into such a small parcel of land that couldn't be reasonably useful. Then with the town granting a, not a variance, an easement for the solar fields, and then, you know, subsequently the solar fields coming in and requiring a variance in order to make their lot legal in terms of frontage. Yeah, we've been doing this repeatedly over and over and over again. This plot of land has been, you know, littered with problems. It's effectively one of those situations where it should be buyer beware, sold as is, and you need to conform to the bylaws as they are on the book.
And isn't that the assumption that Mr. Hodges' reading of the bylaw is correct? We have attorney opinions on both sides, so.
Well, and even this is some of the problem that's fallen to the board currently.
But that is the point.
You know, we've got several versions of council who are extrapolating over this thing, and the board is trying to use the word of council in making their decision. And unfortunately, I don't think there's any straight answer to this entire equation. Each side thinks they have their own position. Each side thinks that and the board just has to make a decision. I mean, and, you know, the best we can do is make the decision based on the information we've been given, and then you know, see how it lays. I mean, that's it. But I mean, it's you know, there's arguments on both sides. I mean, if now, I don't disagree with you, Mr. Hodges, that somewhere along the line, this one got away from us as far as how the property was subdivided. That wasn't a role of planning. That was a role, you know, there were, maybe we should have noticed it sometime and brought it to light. But it's certainly, you know, all that stuff is kind of secondary to what the application is in front of us today.
I think we're hearing all this stuff over and over,
Yeah.
same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, so we just.
Can I make one point, Mr. Hodge? Regardless of how this vote goes or how it goes forward, if we do go forward the project, we'd still like to work with you on a personal basis and your fellow abutters to try to make it best as possible if it goes that direction. Just, I'll throw the offer out there just so you know it's not, you know, there's no animosity here. We went in there with, we thought we read it. We had good opinions on how we read it. Your side reads it. It's a very one of those laws where either way. So that offer is still there regardless of how this turns out.
Well, I appreciate the sentiment. Thank you.
Point, unless the board has any more questions, or do we have another question?
All up there.
Oh, we got Jane. Jane, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Jane Lowell, 40 Millville Street. I read the bylaw and it seems very clear to me. And actually, I seem to remember, Bill, that you were involved in creating that bylaw. The other thing was, did the applicant read the bylaw before they decided to purchase the property, which they haven't done? I understand that, but I'm just always amazed that people come in and they want to do something, you'd think that they would have read the bylaw, especially planning a building of this size and all the drawings and et cetera, spending all that money, that they would have read the bylaw, which is very explicit, very explicit.
Well, you know, you say that, Jane, but even our town council can't come up with a firm answer either way. And that's the planning board's role to try and not make these into litigious acts. I mean, this one may end up being that. I can't answer for everybody. But the one thing that I was told long ago by one of the top land attorneys in the state, David Abbott, who worked for Bob Bobrowski, who basically wrote the zoning book in Mass, was that who's harmed more? And that's always the question, is who's harmed more? And, you know, when I wrote that bylaw, Jane, absolutely right. I had every intention of protecting the abutters. You know, it's sort of, it was a large lot, I think a 36-acre lot at that point in time, maybe bigger, I don't know, I don't remember the exact acreage, but it was a large lot at the time, so it wouldn't have had the impact it's having on this lot at that time. Unfortunately, it got subdivided, and now we have a...
Thank you, butter.
We're making, you know, we're not talking that this is a 20-foot buffer that, like in most commercial districts. We're talking about a buffer that's going to probably exceed, you know, 150, 160 feet, you know, and we're going to thicken it up so with so much protection. Is the applicant really harmed? You know, I could sit here and make arguments for both sides, but that's not my job. My job is to put the information in front of the board, and then we make a decision. And whatever it may be, they've heard town council's answers as well as I have. The additional information that I've obtained regarding takings and stuff, these are real issues in communities across Massachusetts. These, they've got case files and everything, if anybody'd like to look at them. These aren't, you know, just because we write a bylaw, it always doesn't make it, the town still has to act reasonable in its request for that bylaw. Now, whether the applicant reviewed it, I would assume he did. And he's saying he did, and they got a different interpretation from their own attorney. So obviously, legal advice differs on this project greatly. I mean, our legal counsel told you last meeting, Barry asked a question, and she's like, you know, she's not sure that, you know, the legal position in either direction. So we're here as a planning board who's got to try and decide, you know, who's harmed more, because whoever's harmed more is going to be the one that is going to litigate.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best answer I can give you. I mean, the board has to make a decision. It is in, you know, the highway business district. We're doing everything we can to create a substantial buffer. We requested that of the applicant, and hopefully that when all this comes together, one way or the other, it works out fine. I mean, it's unfortunate that we're at this place today, but it's where we are.
Well, we have one more unattractive building coming into Mendon, I guess. Par for the course, sorry.
Building look nice.
They do. Drive around.
Have you guys received the new set of design guidelines we like to see? I mean, we like to dress the buildings up, so anything you can do. I have driven through your project over there and, you know, the brickwork on the bottom and,
Is it neat?
yeah, it's,
Landscape?
you know,
Clean?
you got a couple messy lots over there, but.
Not mine.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
ones that
they're
are
owned
vacant,
by,
that's Jim's.
Yeah.
Not mine. I don't own them.
but anyways, that being said, if we have no more questions, you got anything up there, Dan? I need a motion on the floor. And I would, as amended by the current drawing,
I'll make a motion, Jim. Make a motion to approve the plan for 35 Cape Road as amended by moving the building back 15 feet from the previous drawing.
that's as far as you can move it.
Yeah. As it shows.
We'll look and see if we can move it some more. To be honest with you, one of the things that might be possible would be to slide the access road up a little bit. We can take a look at that. So it might gain us another 3 or 4 feet.
Back as far as possible.
Excuse me?
Back as far as possible.
Yes.
Actually, let's do the approval of the site plan, I mean, the special permit. I'd like to see you come back with the site plan for approval, because I'd like Jeff Walsh to obviously approve
Well,
the
we have to,
findings.
yeah, we have to do the
And
drainage
then
again.
we can approve the site plan if it's,
That's fair.
if that's what happens. But we'll take care of the special permit, that way you're aware that, how the board's voting.
And that starts an appeal period, right?
Yes, the special permit will start the appeal period.
Redo the motion.
Well, once the decision's filed,
Do the motion.
Yeah, once people vote on it, one way or the other.
yeah.
I make a motion to approve the special permit for 35 Cape Road as drawn, moving the building back
Second.
and with the plantings.
Yeah, the subsequent things, they'll
Burn or
bring
no
that.
burn or no
they'll-
burn, depending on the
They'll
butters,
bring-
I guess. What's your thoughts?
I particularly don't know if the berm does better. I mean, that's something you can
Berm
send
or
it
fence,
in.
whatever they want, whatever the
Yeah,
butters
well,
want.
let's take a vote first before assuming that that's going to take place. I don't speak for the board, so.
Motion's for
Well,
the
there's a
special
second on the
permit.
thing, so we gotta,
All those in favor?
John, I.
James, aye.
Barry, aye.
Dame and I.
Aye.
So what-
Special permit's been approved. We'll hold to the site plan. And, you know, and once everything's been approved by Jeff Walsh, move that building as far as you can.
Yep, we'll look at that.
Yeah.
And
And-
we'll put some sections through to
Maybe
see
they
how.
should bring in, maybe they should be bringing in an amended plan that shows what is going to be there for landscaping and how far they, you're saying to move it as far as you can, no less than 15 feet. And it can be more, but we should have something on the plan that the landscaping, the buffer has to be addressed and on a plan before the building gets, before anything gets approved.
We have a landscape now, but we just modify it.
Yep.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But we just need to know, you know, it's one thing to say, you know, the berm may not be the solution. The mixed
Well,
plants may not be. How do
to be
you?
honest with you, I don't know what it's gonna look like through the, is it gonna make it worse? You're gonna have a line of trees on top? Are we trying to fill a natural
Because if it's
buffer?
6 feet tall, they're gonna be looking at a pile of dirt,
Yeah.
6 feet tall.
Yeah, maybe it's something that the,
That's me, but that's me.
Well, we can also basically put some plantings at the toe of the berm as well. And
Like a
I
banking.
think it was Ms. Mavar's suggestion about kind of staggering the plantings. I think we can do something so it doesn't look like a full-length berm. So I
Just
think-
show it in the final drawing.
Plantings can
Yeah.
hide.
And I can still reach out to the solar farm to, when we're taking trees, which we have to do, take them down, we can move them. Sometimes, you know, stuff that's 6 inches or so, we can stick them, they're natural to the area. That'll help fill in the solar area, which is vacant right now. We didn't do anything with that. That's how it is. It's absolutely
Yeah, flat.
clean. If you go over there, take a walk, that's what it is.
Maybe that you, I know you agreed to talk to the landowner, the
Yeah,
resident, Eric.
continue the public hearing for the site plan in 1
So you're going
second.
to continue it.
Yeah, we gotta close the public hearing for the special permit.
Okay.
Make a
And then we
motion to
gotta-
close the public hearing for 35 Cape Road special permit.
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Hold on. Oh, my God. Okay, Barry, so just to close the public hearing for the special
Close the
permit,
public
right?
hearing for the special permit for
Okay.
35 Cape Road.
All right, who seconds?
Jim.
James? Okay. roll
All those in
call.
favor?
James, aye.
John, I.
Barry, aye.
Damon, I.
Okay, and now what was the next one?
Now we need to, I need a motion to continue the site
Continue
plan
the public
review.
hearing.
Make a
Okay.
motion to continue the site
Hold on.
plan review for
I'm sorry.
35 Cape Road to June 8th at 7 PM.
June 8th?
Now we're-
Second.
35 Cape Road.
June 14th?
June 14th, sorry.
June 14th.
Okay, so.
Gives you a little
all
time,
right,
gentlemen.
Does that, do we need any notices or any?
Nope.
That's just
To continue.
planning board.
No, this is notice of the continuation,
Yeah.
is at
Okay.
this meeting.
Oh, who seconded this?
But the appeal clock,
David.
Plan,
For the special permit.
yeah.
the appeal clock starts now.
I
All
believe
those
so,
in
yeah.
favor?
James, aye.
John, I.
Okay, roll
Barry, aye.
call.
You wanted to know if the appeal
David,
process
aye.
starts now.
For the special permit.
Should start when that decision hits
Yeah.
the town clerk's office, I would think, yeah.
Well, they usually wait for a decision to be written, but, and
So
then,
who's writing the decision for the special permit?
do you feel like writing the special permit, or?
I think it might be something we can do with your council would probably be better to do
Yeah,
it.
we can do that.
To be honest with
Hey,
you.
you've
Me
got
as an
all the
engineer, I think
detail
it's-
on?
I'll help them with it, but I think it's a little bit beyond me as a.
Send it to me first.
Okay.
And then I'll review it, because I want to make sure all the details within it, comments.
Maybe they can talk to Eric Hodge and get this buffer situation taken care of before that decision is written, Bill?
Good idea.
They can-
Good idea.
Yeah, we're okay with that. I mean, I'll email Mr. Hodge again, and if he wants, add in the, I don't know everybody that's budding that would be concerned, but anybody does, we can either informally meet, be it on Zoom or in person. We can, Bill could come if he wanted, or somebody from the board could come. Try to resolve the,
Now, are you keeping a good portion of the front of that covered, or is that going to be open all the way through?
From which?
From the
side?
road?
A good chunk of it'll be removed. Well, there's the existing house and the outbuildings, which are in the front, pretty close to the street line.
Oh, yeah,
But
okay.
there is some vegetation on, be the southeast
Just keep as
corner.
much
Yeah,
vegetation
I think we
along
can
the
save
road.
some of that.
Yeah.
You got
I
a
mean-
septic system out there and stuff. So it'll be
in the front, yeah, the septic goes in the front. We could
Yeah,
We could reach out to the solar, like I said, that's probably the biggest, if I was looking at it from an abutter standpoint, that's the biggest, it's a cleared piece of land right now. It's flat.
Well, and that's,
Somebody along the, I don't know who did it, but somebody along the lines has flat cleared that area. And that could be, the trees that are where we're gonna do detention basins, they gotta come out anyway. So take the stuff that's
Yeah, just
natural to the area and
make
put
it
it in.
look like natural growth. I
No,
mean,
it's,
you know.
the soil conditions are probably very similar, so the plants will take good. You might lose a few, but you'll keep most of them.
Okay, all right.
But, that's, I'm open, again, I'm not an arborist, so.
All right. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Gentlemen, have a good night.
Oh, you need me anymore?
No.
Yeah, can we just, I'm sorry, can we just approve the minutes?
Sure.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for May 10th.
Second.
All those in favor?
John, I.
Barry, aye.
He
Jim,
wasn't
aye.
here. And Bill, aye.
Yeah.
Damon, Jimmy wasn't here, he
And
abstained.
James abstained.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
eventful
Sorry to
meeting.
keep you waiting.
Yeah,
No dose.
you should have brought me a law manual. I think I need to be an attorney to
All right, he's
sit
on
in
a
this
can, you're in a
position.
boot. What the hell's going on?
I know, huh? When you said Bobrowski,
Even up the stairs, though.
this is one of my professors.
Yeah.
was in law.
Oh, Bobrowski was your professor?
One with school of law.
Oh,
You don't need me for this one, do
That's
you?
the hutch.
no, you can go.
right,
Sorry,
I gotta go.
John.
I gotta go.
Hey, John,
No, no, John,
I
you want a
appreciate you
copy?
staying. I know,
All right.
John, you want to set? Take it home. Oh, you got one?
Where you going?
Oh, you didn't.
I'll study it at home.
Yeah.
I gotta leave tomorrow morning at 4 o'clock.
There you go.
All right, let's just flip me out. There's one guy
Okay.
here, there's three guys there.
You know,
this doesn't look like the building we originally looked at.
well, that's why I'm here.
Damon just pulled in with his truck.
Is that vinyl siding or brick? I can't tell.
You guys later.
Yeah, take care.
John, I don't think the
Right.
material's been picked yet. If,
I like that, but
All panels on the roof.
we get two issues here. If you're ready, let me know.
go ahead, fire away.
Okay, so I'm Chris Ryan from Ryan Law Office in Blackstone, representing DJM Investment. I brought the pictures. We wanted a different design than this, but the Cannabis Control Commission has a new rule, and it's requiring newer dispensaries now to have this great energy plan. So it's
Oh.
supposed to be as energy efficient as possible. So if you look at the last page of what I gave you, you'll see the solar panels on the roof. So,
Sorry, do you have an extra copy?
oh, I do.
Just because
Yep.
nobody can
I'm
see
sorry.
this. Who's-
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
So originally, we kind of like that country look that we showed you.
We like that too.
Yeah, but looking at where the building is going to be sited versus where the sun is and all that stuff, they came to the conclusion, they meaning the engineers, not me, I don't know, that a flat roof is going to work properly for this kind of situation.
So I'm assuming if it's energy efficient, it won't be a steel building.
Again, I'm told it's going to be stick-built.
Yeah,
That's-
because.
Yeah, be a wood type of building
It
of
wouldn't
some
be
sort.
energy efficient if it was a steel building.
Right, yeah, so no, it's not gonna be a ugly-looking steel building, so it would be a wood type of frame as far as I understand. But this changes the whole look of what originally they were going to do. So I wanted to bring this to you to show you what they've come up with. And again, the biggest thing is the last page.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is in control of the state. Question is, I see you've got a foyer into the, you know how you had that like little tower in the front? I kind of like that. It kind of gave it a country image.
I know.
Is there any way of doing that and keeping the foyer in the,
I'll tell you what, I could surely ask the architect to see if he could put something there.
I'd like it to be, I understand you're trying to meet requirements.
Right. Yeah.
But we also have requirements in the community that require some type of country-looking standard. This does not fit.
Doesn't quite
Our
fit,
new
no.
design guideline. It
No.
just doesn't.
Yep.
Looks like a medical facility.
Yeah.
So if you could give me
I
some
mean,
ideas.
I remember I saw a building one time that had, you know, that it had like, pitched overhangs, but the top was flat.
Okay, all right, I hear
You know, you
Yep.
could do something like that where,
All right.
actually, the top of my building's flat and it's probably the most country-looking building in.
Yeah, well, mine is.
Oh, yours is, yeah. You got a cow on in front. But I mean, the top of my building's flat. I could literally put solar panels up there if I wanted. to.
Okay.
And
Maybe something with pitched overhangs and something in front of that,
guy should have just bought my
Entry,
building. You would have been all safe.
right?
It
Like
would've
with
been
a four roof type thing, like a hip of some sort, maybe that would, again, I'm not the architect, but I can surely go back.
You know, the architect doesn't live in the community. The
No.
architect doesn't set the guidelines to how.
Do you have the new design guidelines? Did you get those?
I don't think we have them, do we?
They're recommendations, not requirements, but they're, Dan, do you have access to those design guidelines?
Yeah, if they're not posted on the website, I'll try and get.
Can you email them to Bob?
Then just send them to me. I'll give them to the architect.
He should have a copy anyways.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That would be great. I'll tell you, it's funny working with architects sometimes.
Yeah.
Because what we did is, we actually drove around town
And I personally took a whole bunch of pictures of, all different places with the country look. And
That's what they
set them
came up
all-
with?
And got all these designs that I was shaking my head like, where's the country look? But one of them was the one I brought to you.
Yeah, and
last
that
time.
was a nice looking.
And my
building.
client was like, there we go, perfect. And then the Cannabis Control Commission came out with these energy efficiency rules. And now it's like, oh, you're got to try to satisfy the different criteria, so
And
that's
I
why.
can appreciate that. I know you got a lot of trees around you from abutters, so
Yeah.
you've got to sort of grasp the downlight.
Yeah.
And which, you can't do on a pitch roof. You got to do on a, but it's got to look more country than this. That's all I got to
Okay,
say.
all right, well, you know what, Bob can get me, when he gets the design guidelines.
If I get criticized one more ugly looking building in town, I'm going to shoot myself.
That's my end of it. Now Bob can do his end. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then, so the other,
Oh, you made some changes. I see.
to determine whether or not things can just be done as field changes or if you're going to need a new plan. And the first one, obviously, is that the entrance was moved from this location here where the dash line is to here, just because the original one required trying to get Mass Electric, the legal power to move the pole.
Oh, forget
It's
that.
like, not, so.
Tried that once.
But that was for that. And then the other one, so the other one is they, basically, they needed to to create a loading area. What happens is that this is a fenced-in area where when they receive product, they like to be backed in and be hidden from, and load the product into the building. To put that loading area here, we needed to expand the parking lot and just bump it out here so we could have the sufficient area to go drive by.
Can you put together site plan change for Jeff? I'm more concerned with site distance. Yeah, we moved the entrances? Yeah.
It is better.
Yeah, I think it's better for you to cross down.
I don't think there's any other stormwater changes or.
No, nothing to do with stormwater.
All right, then if, well, there is, I mean, those are minor changes. I don't think we require it. So, but you will have to, he'll show up on the as-built anyways. Yeah, show up on the as-built. So if you guys are okay with the changes. Modifications, you just need a quick motion to approve it.
About the building design.
Oh, yeah, well, the building, why don't you come back with everything at that time? We'll approve everything at that time.
Excuse me, Bill.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to put that plan up on the screen, would you?
The chat.
It's what?
It's linked in the chat.
It's linked to the chat, Bob.
Okay.
That building is not going to be the one we approve, so don't worry about it.
No, I was looking at the entrance I wanted to see the entrance that they wanted and where they wanted to move it. Is it further down the hill or is it closer to 49? Where's it getting moved to?
Yeah, I think it's actually going to have better sight lines. Yeah, it's moving further down the hill.
Okay.
We're on the straightaway and at the current driveway location.
Is it going all the way down to where the drive-in meets, or is it going into that parking lot area?
No, it's right where the driveway exits now, just before you get to, where old Nymunk Drive used to come out.
Old Nymunk Drive?
Yeah, that's before your time.
Before your time, Bob.
Way before, because Nymunk Drive was over near.
I used to come back. You used to come back out.
I think he has a project on Milford Street.
Yeah.
Do you want a motion to continue this, Bill?
Well, this isn't really a hearing. They're just coming back with a proposed proposed building plan that we asked them to come back with.
Okay.
We don't have to continue this. Whenever you're prepared, just come back.
Just bring it up.
Okay. Thank you very much.
If I see any digging in a building going up without it, I'll be down there.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Bill, aye.
Barry, aye.
So I'm familiar